down here, the weather in the Caribbean. Like, you can barely see St. Thomas. Like, over here, it's raining like crazy. And over here, it's nice and sunny. Hey everybody, welcome back to Disappointing Your Demons. My name is Ron. I am a grateful recovering alcoholic. So, trying something a little new today. I got this stand for my phone, and I'm just kind of trying out a little bit of a new format or video cinematography, maybe. I don't know what the fuck to call it. I'm trying something different. So I hope you all enjoy it, and I hope those people on the boat behind me are having a boatload of fun. So yeah. Anyway, in today's video, before we get going, I want to show you my tattoos are done. So this one's my demon side. This one is just a reflection of, you know, what alcohol is doing to me and leading me to an early grave. And then I've got my angel over here with a 24-hour chip showing me where I'm going. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about those. And, oh man, they're really getting down with it back there, aren't they? Yeah. Anyway, back to the topic at hand, which is, when is enough enough? When should you quit drinking? That I don't have the answer for you. When did I quit drinking when I hit pretty much what I feel is my biggest rock bottom, but it actually don't know if it was like my biggest rock bottom. It was certainly a rock bottom. I think I've had a lot of rock bottoms over the years, but I guess start off with, when did I realize, or when in hindsight do I think that alcohol started becoming a problem for me? And it's pretty much just right away. The second that I took a drink, or the second that I got drunk, it was an issue immediately. Like, you know, having to hide from my parents, or, you know, getting into situations where I really shouldn't have gotten into, and probably wouldn't have gotten into had I not been intoxicated. And I think we can all relate on some level with that. But I mean, like, I'm going to tell a few stories and give some examples of just like what my drinking did to me and how I drank and how I drugged. But just, you know, for example, after my first drunk, like every time I would drink, I would drink till basically passing out, throwing up, you know, all that. I had this notion in my head when I was about 16. For some reason, I got it into my head that Indians, or well, Native Americans, but Indians don't puke. And I can tell you 100% that we do in fact puke from drinking too much, and we puke a lot. I was at a good friend's house at the time, and we got a big bottle of Jack Daniels, and we all had a shot initially, but a couple of the people that I was with didn't like it. So me and another one of my buddies decided that it'd be a smart idea to go shot for shot, and we literally, the two of us, finished that whole bottle off. And I think that, I know I had alcohol poisoning and probably should have gone to the hospital to get my stomach pumped. But I mean, I don't remember this per se. I have bits and pieces of it, but literally just, you know, while puking, laying face down, my friends were smart enough to roll me over onto my stomach, and I literally like inchwormed my way across his basement floor, leaving like a snail trail of puke. And then for some reason, I managed to get his basement door open, and I was hanging, and it was the winter too, and I was hanging halfway in his house and out his house, just puking uncontrollably. And then I had to go to church the next day, and I was literally covered, like my shirt, everything was covered, and I stank of puke, and I didn't have time to like get changed out, so I went to church like that, and like everybody was just like so grossed out by me, and you know. But I mean, to me that wasn't even a problem. Like I was like, oh, that was like a funny night, a funny story to tell later on. And you know, basically the way that I drank every time though. And then as I got older, I got into, of course, like the Boston music scene, and then also I, for some reason, thought it would be a great idea to get a job as a bartender. And so this is literally how my days went when I was about 21 years old. Um, I would my day would start off. I had to be to work at this place. I was a mechanic at, and I had to be there at 7:30 in the morning, and I would, you know, get up after having a shift. So let's just say I'd start my day at 7:30, and I would work. We got out at 4:30, and then from there I would go out to my second job as a bartender at this pretty fancy restaurant in Quincy, Mass. But I went there, you know, and would do my shift, and I'd be there from like let's just say like 6 o'clock in the evening until 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, or maybe midnight, depending on how late, because I did the private parties, and I would, you know, drink behind the bar, and then after my shift got over, me and all the other wait staff, we would go and we would party. And this guy that worked with us, this other waiter, he had a full like a full bar in his apartment, and so we would all go over there and continue to drink. And then it would be about 4:30 in the morning, let's say 4 in the morning, 4:30. I would head home, get home about 5 a.m., literally just crawl into bed and get to sleep for like 2 hours, and then wake up and then go to my day job. And I remember one morning I pulled into my day job, and I had a little Coke on me, and I got there kind of like before everybody else, but there was only one other car in the parking lot, and it was my boss's car. And so I parked kind of far away from it, but I like, you know, didn't even really care or look around. I just started, you know, blasting lines off my dashboard, and then I look over and there's my boss, and he's doing the exact same thing. So I didn't get in trouble and I didn't get fired, but we just kind of looked at each other and we're just like, yep. And then went right back to it, and that was literally like, you know, like just rinse and repeat. Do that for like, you know, 4 days a week, and on the weekends when I had a day off and I didn't have to go into work at the bar either, like I would just sleep, and you know, then I'd say I wake up at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's a Sunday, and what do? I go out to the bar and start drinking just so I can fucking feel better, and just party all the time. And I mean, and then, you know, random hookups with some of the wait staff, or random hookups with, you know, girls that I meet at the bar, you know, whatever. It was just, looking back on it, it was insane. But I mean, I was 21, so I had, you know, the energy and stamina of a bull, and I would just keep on going. I mean, if I look back at it now, and if I did that nowadays, man, I would freaking die after day one. So I do that, and you know, that wasn't like a problem though. That wasn't an issue for me. And then for the same company though that I worked for, I had to go on a road trip and to install chemical dispensers at a chain business. I don't want to mention any business names or anything like that, but anyway, at this chain business, and I drank and drugged on this road trip just like I did when I was still, you know, staying in Massachusetts, and you know, different, you know, every state, every town I was in, different girl, different bar, different freaking scenario, but it was all the same, just getting shit-faced all the time. I remember I was in Maryland, and Massachusetts doesn't have like happy hours per se. Their happy hour, you can get like 50 cent the time you could get like 50-cent wings, like whoop de fucking do. Um, Give a shit about wings, you know. But I remember I was in Maryland and it was a real happy hour, and it was quarter. It was quarter beers, and it was Budweisers, and I went into this bar with $5, and just had a mountain of beer in front of me, and I'm sharing them with everybody. Everybody else is sharing them, and you know, it was freaking pure madness. And happy hour was it was literally an hour, but like got a table, and the entire table was just covered with beers. But on that road trip in the same state of Maryland, I was out in Frederick County, Maryland, and well, wouldn't you know, I get a freaking DUI. I go down, like the city was very confusing. Also, I was drunk, but the city was very confusing, and freaking, like I went down a one way, and I even said to the cop, I said, well, who the fuck put that one way there? Like the cops like, what? It doesn't fucking matter that you went down a one way the wrong way, and failed the field sobriety test miserably, failed the breathalyzer miserably, and got arrested. Now I was told later on by one of the you know, guards in like the holding cell or whatever the fuck, that because Maryland at the time, now I don't know how true this is, but because Maryland at the time did not have reciprocity with Massachusetts, the only thing they could have done really is just basically driven me back to my hotel, like, because they wouldn't have had the proof for the breathalyzer. They couldn't have taken my license because it was a Massachusetts license, not Maryland. But I stupidly took the breathalyzer, and they had proof, so they arrested me. Anyway, so that was like my first and only DUI, and it was my, you know, as we call them in AA, it was like my first real jackpot. But, you know, I had to go through all that, and go back to Maryland for court, be on probation for a while, and the whole thing, you know, the whole thing cost me probably about $3,000 to $5,000 when all was said and done. Because then I had to go to stupid drunk court, drunk classes, and driving school again, or whatever they call it. I don't know. Had to go see a shrink and send a letter down to my probation officer stating that I wasn't an alcoholic, and I lied through my teeth. And the guy giving me the interview knew I was lying through my teeth, but he was one of those, you know, he just did not give a shit. He's just like, yeah, whatever. Like, I don't care. He just filled out the paperwork and sent it to my probation officer. But that wasn't obviously enough, and I didn't lose my job either, which was fucking crazy. But yeah, so that's another thing. That was my first jackpot, and I just kept right on going like that. And then of course, like, you know, drugs and everything. I've been in front of a judge more than a few times, and I always say nowadays, like, you know, somebody, like, I get into an argument with my wife or something, and oh, by the way, my wife's back, which is awesome. Like, we have decided to work on things, and probably should have put that at the beginning of the video, or maybe the end of the video, but I feel like saying it now. And we're trying to work things out, and there's a lot more to it, but I'm so happy that she's back. I love her so much, and she's just an amazing woman, and just going through AA and the program and working with my sponsor and therapist and everything, it's given me a whole new mindset. And you know, I just want the white picket fences with her. You know, that's all I want. She's a wonderful lady, loyal, and you know, I've never met a woman who you know, jumped to defend me like she does. Anyway, back to the stories. So yeah, you know, I got caught with you know, a tiny bit of pot back in the day, back when I was about 21 as well. And you know, back in those days, like, marijuana was like a big deal to like get caught with. And I only had 2 little roaches, but the town that I was in, the cop was a ball buster, and they had a 0 tolerance policy for possession of marijuana, so they had to arrest me. Like, fuck you. But I'll get to this a little bit later in the story. But it's things like that that happen that you don't think are going to affect you later on that absolutely do come back to freaking haunt you. So there's that. That happened, and then I'll tell one more story about from this era. That is just how I was when I was drinking, and all these things weren't nearly enough to, even close to enough to get me to stop. But when I would drink tequila, many things would happen when I would drink tequila. I would either get like all sad and crying, or I would get, freaking blind rage angry, or I would get silly. There's a few stories about with involving tequila, but there's two particular stories, and I just try to tell them real quick. I was at this bar in the town over from where I lived, and it was a Chinese restaurant, and it turned into a nightclub on Friday and Saturday nights. Well, anyways, me and my buddies are there, and sitting at the bar, and there's like a railing behind the bar that only gives people like very little space to walk, so it wasn't like it was uncommon for people to bump into people at the bar. So I'm sitting there, and I had a couple shots of tequila, and sitting there, and this guy's trying to get by, and it's pretty crowded on a Friday night, and he bumps into me, like he's like behind their shoulder, and he bumps into me, and I kind of spill my tequila, and moves me a little bit, and he even said sorry. He goes, "Oh, sorry, dude, pardon me." And I just looked, and I got this smile on my face, and my friends all looked at me, and were like, "Uh-oh." And as he got over to like around here, I just turned around, and I wailed him as hard as I could, and just started beating the crap out of him. And of course the bouncers come and they grab me and they throw me out, and whatever. I find my way home, and the next day my friends are like, "What the fuck was that all about?" Like, dude, and didn't really have cell phones and shit back then. Those were for rich people, and so I seen my friends a few days later, and they're like, "Ronnie, like, what the hell?" And I was just like, "I don't know, man. I was drunk. He bumped me." So anyways, 2 weeks later, same bar, same pretty much bar stool, same scenario though, same friends, and we start shooting tequila again. This dude, different dude, comes walking, and he bumps into me. So second time, I literally, same thing. And my friends all see me, and I get the smile on my face again, and my friend, the only thing I remember is one of my friends going, "Ronnie, no." And I go, "Oh yeah." And I turn and I freaking crack this kid as hard as I can too. And I proceed to beat the shit out of him. And, get thrown out again. Bouncers tell me never come. I was not welcome in that bar after that for 6 months anyways. I think I finally went back after 6 months, and it was just all new staff, so nobody knew to like keep me out of there. But it's like, that's like, to me, again, like it's a funny story kind of, but like, it's not normal. It's not normal behavior. And it's where alcohol leads me. So that's kind of all like not all of them, I mean there's more, but like the cute stories that I want to tell, the funny stories, because it gets a lot darker. And I think I told this story in another video, in one of my early videos, but I'll repeat it, and because this is one of my regrets that I have, one of many. But the time that my ex-wife was my first ex-wife. Well, I guess I don't really have an ex-wife, a second ex-wife, because she came back. Anyway, my ex-wife, she was pregnant with my first daughter, and we were broke. We were broke as fuck back then, and so she worked as a daycare provider and a nanny and everything, and I worked as a mechanic. And she saved up, and she bought all this like brand new like baby stuff that she was all excited about, and just couldn't wait to show me. So I get home, and she shows me all this brand new baby stuff, and some of it was some pretty expensive shit, including this like really fancy baby bath. And I went out drinking with the boys that night, and I got home drunk as a skunk, could barely fucking stand on. I actually don't even think I could stand on my own 2 feet. Yeah, because I literally had to crawl up the stairs to the bathroom, and I get into the bathroom, and what do is I grab that baby bath, and I just fucking start puking in it, and I puked in it so much, it was just rotten, nasty beer puke, ruined the fucking thing. And my wife, just tears in her eyes, looks at me and just shakes her head, just turns away and just says pathetic, and that was it. That was all she said. And boy, that really bugged the crap out of me. So that really, I just felt so bad about that. And then, but that's how the years went on with that. And then I, told you all the story of, how I ended up, screaming at my daughter that night of heavy drinking, and that was my last night in the house, and I got thrown out, and, decided that I was going to quit drinking then, and ended up in detox. And then, of course, that didn't work, and I went out for another year, after being in a sober home and everything for a month, and decided that, decided I didn't want to be back together with my wife. I wanted to freaking party and act like an asshole some more. And yeah, so, in the meantime, to bring it back to the whole possession of marijuana charge, so I owned some firearms back in the day, and they changed the law in Massachusetts that if you had even a drug arrest, that you were banned for life from owning firearms in the state of Massachusetts. And so I had probably like 5 or 6 long rifles and a shotgun and a handgun. And they sent me a certified letter saying, and delivered by the sheriff's department, saying that if they didn't, that if I didn't turn my firearms in because they changed the laws and I couldn't renew my license to carry, that they were going to literally send the SWAT team. So something that I had done, I forget, it was probably 12 years before this incident. It was 12 years before, now haunting me when I'm in my, early 30s. So, anyway, and in the year that I went back out after divorce, after leaving my wife and basically not abandoning, but leaving my children and leaving, getting kicked out of my house and everything. It still wasn't enough, and boy, and it got fucking so much worse, so much faster, because I didn't have any adult supervision, and I was on my own for the first time in 11 years as a single man, and I raised all sorts of hell, and it got dangerous more than a few times. One of the things that happened when I drink tequila too is I sleepwalk, and one time I was over my friend's house, and I was spending the night at my friend's house, and I was sleeping on the couch, but we had done shot after shot of tequila. Well, anyway, somehow in the middle of the night I woke up, or got up, was sleepwalking, and I literally took apart his kitchen, found tools somehow, and literally took apart his toaster oven and his stove, and a whole bunch of stuff. And they thought I pissed on the floor, but turns out, because they found the water bottle, I had just taken a water bottle out of his fridge and just dumped it all over his floor for some reason. I don't know. But then on a separate occasion, a month later, I was drinking tequila, and I came home. I had a roommate, but I must have gotten home at some point, and I was stark naked in my easy chair. I had turned the heater, and it was the winter. I had turned the thermostat on the heat all the way up to as high as it went, turned the oven and the stove on full blast, opened up the stove because I guess it must have been cold, and took a bunch of other shit apart. And he said that when he came into the apartment, that it was so hot, and that I was just sitting there naked in my recliner, sweating buckets. And if he didn't find me, when he found me, there's a pretty good chance I probably would have died that night from heat stroke or something. I mean, it was crazy. That wasn't enough to keep me from drinking. And then I told the story about about how I had my daughters at visitation, and I wasn't supposed to drink when I had my daughters, but I got drunk as can be. and I passed out and they couldn't wake me up, and my daughter had to pull my cell phone out of my pocket to call her mom because they weren't able to wake me up, and um, they were hungry, they wanted supper, and I wasn't like coming to or whatever, and so my ex-wife had to come over, grab them, literally check to make sure that I wasn't dead, and took them home, and I came to not knowing where the fuck my kids were. I remember them being there, and then I passed out, and I come to, and they're not there, and I panicked, but I called my ex-wife finally, and she informed me that she had them, and that I was never gonna see them again until I fucking got my shit together. But that wasn't enough to keep me from drinking. And then I was losing my job, losing my apartment. Thank God my car I paid cash for, so I got some little shitbox that I fixed up, and was literally drinking myself to death. And I was sitting in my easy chair, and I decided at that point, enough was enough. Like, I was so sick all the time, and I begged God to take it away. And he did that day, and I got sober, and I managed to stay sober for 7 years. But like that low point of going to my first AA meeting and really meaning it, and having somebody there say welcome, that was huge. And it was a guy, and he became my sponsor, and we went to 90 and 90, and I managed to stay sober for 7 years. And then I stopped going to meetings, stopped talking to my sponsor, didn't even have a sponsor at that point, got on the plane, decided to move to the Caribbean. And I think I had already been planning my first drink getting down to the Caribbean even well before I made it down to the Caribbean, even well before I made the decision to go to the Caribbean. I think my brain had been plotting this drink for a very long time. But I get off the plane and I take a shot of rum, and literally, I said this before, there's that little voice in the back of my head going, no, no, don't do it, don't do it. And you know how this turns out. Well, I took the shot anyway, and I was off and running, and for 4.5 years, I just kept at it, and it got worse and worse and worse. So the point of this video is, so how did I know when it was time to quit drinking? Well, and I said it before, and I really hope, I don't think that, like, you don't need to hit rock bottom before you quit drinking. Like, a lot of people say that you do, but how do you know? And so, for me, I had to literally almost kill myself again. I had to literally almost freaking drink myself and drug myself to death before I had had enough. Before I said to myself, you've got to stop. Like, you're going to die. So that began my sobriety journey this time around 6 months ago, and I'm getting close to 7 months now. But that was the start of my sobriety journey. But I don't think that you need to fucking get that far before you finally decide to fucking quit. But I can't speak for any of you either. Like, and yes, okay, so you're here, you're watching this sobriety video, and obviously somebody somewhere, even yourself, it's planted a little seed in your head that, man, like, fucking, maybe you should slow down, maybe you should stop drinking, maybe I have a drinking problem, maybe you have a drink. I don't know what the catalyst is for you getting here, but there's obviously a reason for you getting here. And I tell you, like, what better time than now, honestly. Like, I don't care where you are in your addiction and your alcoholism, which stage you're in. There are stages of it, I guess, but I don't know the science behind it. I'm not a freaking therapist. I'm not a counselor or a doctor. I don't know. But what better time than now? Trust me, save yourself a lot of trouble. Save yourself a lot of heartache, a lot of money, a lot of freaking just misery. We have a saying in AA that try it free for 30 days. If you don't like it, we'll refund you double your misery at the door. I wish I could go back in time to that first time that I was sitting there in my buddy's basement and his brothers were playing quarters, and and I had that beer in me. I wish I could go back in time, walk up to little me, and just slap that motherfucker right out of his hand, and beat myself, freaking tan my hide and send me back home. Or I wish that at 21, when I had got my DUI and I had my opportunity, I had my nudge from the judge to go to AA, that I got it then. Again, would have saved me a lot of heartache, would have saved my family a lot of heartache, would have saved so many people so much trouble. But obviously I can't do that. I don't have a time machine. I don't have any way of doing anything to change the past. And there is that argument that we don't want to, our past is what makes us who we are today. And sure, and if I had changed any number of things, I wouldn't have the 3 wonderful children, or the wife that I have now, or the grandsons. So, and it's good now. I have a lot of things that I love, and I wouldn't give up my daughters for the world. Wouldn't give up my grandsons for the world. But man, like, I wish that I had gotten it so much earlier. And I just know that there are a lot of you out there struggling with it right now. And maybe you are at the point where everything's fallen apart. Everything has gone to absolute shit. And you're sitting here and you're watching this, just, white knuckling it, hoping for an answer, or that something clicks. All I can say is, what better time than now to stop, to get yourself into a program, to start working on yourself, to start getting rid of all the demons and all the trauma and all the bullshit. And maybe you'll save your kids a lot of money in therapy bills later on in life too. I don't know. But just, if you are thinking that you might have a problem, then stop. Stop now. Just put it down. There's nothing that's going to happen today that is going to require you to take a drink. Clearly, for me, alcohol is not an option anymore. It's off the table. So, leave a comment. If you have nobody else to talk to, leave a comment about where you're at in your drinking or sobriety journey, wherever you're at. I would love to hear about it, and I would love to talk about it. If you feel like you're on the edge, leave a comment. I'll talk to you. I'll offer some advice, or at the very least, I think I have some pretty big shoulders. Like I'll give you a shoulder to cry on. But just leave a comment, like, subscribe, share this with somebody who you think might be having a problem. Maybe something in my story, they can relate to, and is parallel with their life right now. I don't know, but I would just, I hate to see the suffering, and I know that there is, and I know that there's still sick and suffering people out there, and that's never going to change. It's never going to be completely cured. But just let's get the message out, and let's save some lives. That's all I got. Thank you.